Once you find yourself in conflict with a narcissist, it's a virtual guarantee they're going to start playing head games with you. That's why I put together a new course. It's very extensive called Anger Games. I'm going to teach you how to manage anger and conflict with a narcissist. There's a link below that's going to show you how to register, and I hope that you find it to be very insightful. There's one thing that's certain if you're trying to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be, and that is someone in front of you is going to be a contrarian. I mean, you hate to think of it that way because it sounds so pessimistic, but it's accurate. It's true. Especially if you're dealing with somebody or if you're engaging with somebody who has strong narcissistic tendencies, you take a look at their core ingredients and none of it adds up to healthy relationships. I mean, when you approach people with raw selfishness and a high need for control and an attitude of entitlement and a need to be superior, you have exploitive tendencies, you hide behind your own false self, that's not a good combination for relationship success. So your challenge as you try to be that best version of yourself is to ask yourself the question, how does wisdom guide my response when I'm in the midst of these individuals who just don't understand life from a very good perspective? Now, I want to zero in on three different options you have. One is there's a bad way to respond to the narcissist. Two, there's an inadequate way to respond to the narcissist. And then three, there is a very good way to respond. Let's see if we can break that down. Now, first, when I say that there's a bad way to respond to the narcissist, it's simply this, and that is you can enter into the control, counter-control game with that individual. Narcissists, like I mentioned, have a real strong need to control who you are, how you think, what your priorities are, and what your responses should be. And as a result, they come toward you with lots, and when I say lots, plenty of criticism. They offer unsolicited advice as if you need them to tell you what to do and how to manage your life. They have automatic anger when differences appear. They will see you as somebody that is to be used. And ultimately, they're grossly insensitive in their way of thinking, I don't really need to consider you. Conscientiousness is just not a part of who they are. And so given the fact that they offer these initiatives, it's very easy for you to respond in kind. That's probably one of the biggest problems that I would confront when I would talk with individuals in my therapy office. They would talk about how those difficult individuals just kept coming at them with all sorts of healthiness. And then as we would break it down, then I have to admit, and I get into very unhealthy responses in reverse. So that's an option. It's a bad option. You can just match pitch with who they are. And then my question would be, well, how well does that work out? And then in the end, are you a better person when you do that? Of course, the answer is no. Now, that second option that you have as you try to respond to the narcissist is, and I call this the inadequate option. Sometimes I find that individuals go into an appeasement mode. They comply and they just suppress their emotions. And these are the individuals who will say, I just lost myself. I just wound up just going along to get along because pushing back just created so much strain and tension. And as a result, these are individuals who respond to that narcissist with lots of anxiety, a lot of suppressed emotion, depression, resentment, futility. And when you choose this inadequate option, basically what you're saying is, I just don't even have the internal strength to draw upon. That person is going to overpower me, so why fight City Hall, so to speak? And again, I would ask the question, well, does that work out very well with you? Is the narcissist happy? They may not be as argumentative if you suppress, but it's not a good way to live. And in the end, you wind up being a shell of yourself. Now, these first two options create what we refer to as the trauma bond. whether you go into that high control, counter control game, or you go into this inadequate style of suppressing and appeasing, basically you're so tied to the person who's creating the stress and strain in you that a bond occurs of a very negative nature. And as a result, you're wishing for their approval and their cooperation, and it's never going to be there. That's the bond. And you wind up in a downward spiral that just seems almost impossible to get out of. But then I mentioned there's a good way to respond to the narcissist. And that good way is remain true to yourself. Use calm confidence. And that's a phrase that I like to use because it describes a lot of how I like to encourage people to engage with individuals. When you take this good way, this better way, basically what one of your starting points is going to be to say to yourself, I'm distinct. I know who I am. I know what I stand for. The narcissist is not the one who sets the pace for my life. The best way for me to be in control is to quit trying to be so in control. And so there is a mindset where you separate yourself off from that narcissist and you individualize your efforts. I mean, so many times people think, well, if we can get along with one another, if we can learn how to have better conflict resolution skills, then we are going to move forward well. And that's a noble thought. But keep in mind, narcissists don't do we. They don't do us. They're very much into themselves. They don't have enough empathy. They don't have enough sense of coordination. They don't even feel the need to do that. And so you're as noble as your thoughts would be in that regard, it's not going to work out very well. Therefore, you're going to have to individualize your efforts as you try to respond well to that narcissist. Let's break that down. Now, let's keep in mind that the number one way that you can get hooked into that trauma bond with the narcissist is to allow them to establish the ways that we're going to deal with conflicts. They want to keep you riled up. So, part of the better way that we're going to focus on is keep in mind that conflict does indeed exist, and you're not going to be able to make it go away. Just accept that as a truth. The narcissist brings lots of chaos, and that's just to be expected. Now, having said that, it's going to be necessary for you to have your own well-conceived plans for conflict resolution skills. And basically, when I say that, I mean anger management skills. Understand that you can be openly aggressive, you can be passive aggressive, you can suppress. Those are the options that are part of the bonding with a narcissist. You can have assertiveness, and you can appeal to what I refer to as your higher priorities. Do you understand what that means and what that looks like? And of course, we have books and courses and counseling, things like that can help you in that. Now, in addition to that, it's going to be necessary as you go to the better way in responding to have a keen understanding for the role of judgments in relationships. Frankly, I don't think it's appropriate for one person to say, oh, I'm going to declare who you are, and I'm going to declare if you are adequate, if you're not adequate. There's such arrogance in that. The narcissist wants to keep you bound to them by judgments and the shame and the guilt that goes along with that and the feelings of inadequacy. And I want you to just pull back and think, that individual has appointed themselves as being my judge, but they're not. Instead of being judgmental, I'm going to be descriptive. I know when I'm right and when I'm wrong and when you're right and when you're wrong, but I don't feel the need to bring a hammer with me when we go into that kind of space. Now, on top of that, let's keep in mind that the narcissist may not like that. That's too bad. But embrace your freedom. Freedom means that you have the privilege to choose. And so it comes down to you asking, well, when the narcissist goes berserk or when they're difficult or when they're impossible, that's what they choose. I'm a free person. Freedom means the privilege to choose. What am I going to choose? And so you can break down your choices into individual episodes. When I'm in an episode that features these characteristics, how am I going to respond? Or this attitude, how am I going to respond? And you can rehearse it in advance. And then in addition to all of that, embrace the concept of radical acceptance. And that's probably one of the most difficult things to do as you take the better path. And when we say radical acceptance, we're not talking about condoning what the narcissist is, but we're going to simply acknowledge straight up front it's true. Some people are incapable of pulling away from their dysfunctions. You accept that as a fact. You don't have to like it, but let's keep in mind that the narcissist thinks to themselves, well, actually, my ways really are quite positive. I'm so right, and you're the problem and not me, or you're the one that's getting in the way of us getting along. And that's how they think. Accept it, as opposed to trying to force them to see the light, because they won't. I accept who you are. I accept as you think. No pleading, no coaxing, no convincing. And then beyond that, make sure that as you pursue this better way, that you prioritize what I refer to as essence over performance. In other words, the narcissist wants you to perform, but be this way and stay inside the grooves. And you're not going to respond well to individuals in any form when life is little more than a must or supposed to or have to. Stay focused instead to what your internal ingredients are that will lead you to peace and patience and respect and firmness and decisiveness. That's your essence. That's how you define yourself. And then finally, we're going to say, as you pursue this better way, as often as possible, remove yourself. The narcissist cannot, nor should they be, a part of your internal circle. There may not be enough people out there who are committed to the better way, but they do exist. Seek those individuals out. Now, the narcissist wants to act toward you kind of like a puppeteer. It's kind of like they're thinking, I'm the one who's pulling the strings, you're my puppet. And I'm hoping you can decide, no, I'm nobody's puppet. I don't want to go along with your game of control, counter control. I don't feel the need to go into that inadequate way of suppressing and appeasement. I'm going to take the better way of trusting in myself and believing in who I am. Now, you're not going to have the luxury of having that person, that narcissistic person, say, way to go, because they don't think that way. But nonetheless, I'm hoping you can decide, I'm going to embrace my internal strength. And I'm hoping you can realize that internal strength indeed exists. Let's make as much use of it as you can. I hope that videos like this can give you some good awareness of what you're dealing with and how you can move forward in a healthy way. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please do so. We'll keep more videos coming towards you. I genuinely appreciate you allowing me to be on the journey with you. I really do. Now, some of you, as you're trying to figure this out, could use some help, some counseling. I've been sponsored for years by the people at BetterHelp.com. It's an online therapy resource. We found that online therapy can be quite effective. There's a link below to the people at BetterHelp, and you can go through the link and then answer a few questions, and you get to select a therapist that you can work with. And it can be so refreshing for that person to say, I'd like to know you, and I'd like to sift out some of these options that we have and figure out how we can get you to that place where you're drawing upon your internal essence of goodness and peace. Get the help as the need is there. Now, in my retirement years, I have put together online courses, classes, and each one consists of at least 25 teaching videos and each video has handouts, guided questions, and it's very structured, and it's a good way to go into a therapeutic process. You can do it in your own timetable. You can share it with whoever you want. We have anger games. This is me about establishing boundaries. We have free to be, ready, set, connect about making healthy connections. So as the need is there, you can invest in those, as well as on my website, we have access to my webinars, which are 90-minute PowerPoint presentations, and they've proven to be quite popular, along with access to my articles, the podcasts that we have, and my books. So we have plenty of resources. Okay. As you're trying to figure out how to engage with a narcissist, you have the unhealthy way, and then you have the inadequate way, and then you have the good way. Let's make sure and certain that you're going to vote yes for the good way and for yourself. And in doing so, I hope that you can find yourself quite capable of going deeper and deeper toward your own stability, which will then in turn lead you into a place of well-deserved peace.